We're really ugly. I'm sorry.
I think it's cute.
Hey guys, it's Golden Trilogy. I'm Paige.
I'm Alexis.
And I'm Peyton, and today we are doing our August wrap-up and awards.
I'm gonna go first, but Alexis has like 0 books that I read. So the first book I read was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I read this first. I read this at the beginning of the month because we had to read it for school, and we started August 4th. So I'm pretty sure I read it in this month because it wasn't the last wrap-up. I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. I know it's a classic and everyone likes it, but I'm just really more into exciting fantasy stuff. Didn't really do it for me, but it was pretty good.
So the novel is centered around a young girl named Scout and her brother Jim, and they live in the early 1900s or like 1950s or something like that, and they live in like a racist world.
How it was back then.
Yeah.
Scout's father, Atticus, is
a lawyer.
Is a lawyer
and he's defending a black man. Scout and Jim learning about themselves
and
they got
trying
like
to
picked on because their dad was defending a black man.
Yeah, and it's about how the world was back when people were racist. I mean, they're still racist, but it's not as severe as it was back then. Next book I read was Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins, and Alexis does not have his copy, so we're gonna insert a picture here. And I also read Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins, and
they're both like a
I rated them both.
romance.
No, I rated Lola 4 stars, Isla 5 stars. They're perfect. Like, they're really good. The second book, Lola, is following. It's a new couple, but the previous couple comes into it, and it's kind of like Cinder in that aspect, where like all of them are in different books, but more characters come in each book.
Yeah.
And they're so good. They're my favorite contemporaries I've ever read. Then I read The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings. Murder Complex. And The Death Code by Lindsay Cummings. And so
Just cover up Alexis' face, why don't you?
Yeah.
About this girl named Meadow and this guy named Fear.
And they live in a dystopian world. And Meadow,
where some certain people are programmed to kill. Like, inside of them, they can't change it. Well,
they like black out and then they go into killing mode and they have a target and they kill someone.
And it just follows Sophia and Meadow's story, and there's a bunch of things that happen. I thought it was so good, but Paige didn't think.
I rated them both 3 stars. The last book I read was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling, and it was. I have mixed feelings about this.
She's just trying to.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I did like the book. I rated it 5 stars. It was really good. I teared up in it. But
I didn't even
the only thing is I was spoiled for everything that happened. So I kind of, it wasn't exciting. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want this to happen still, because I still got attached to the characters, but I knew what was happening. So I think I rated the other ones like, they weren't 5 stars, but this one was really good. I enjoyed this one better because I didn't really remember what happened. Last book I read this month was The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh, and this is the second book in The Wrath and the Dawn. I don't know what they're calling it, The Wrath and the Dawn. And I love The Wrath and the Dawn. I haven't finished The Rose and the Dagger yet, but I'm planning on it to finish it by the end of the month. And it's
Which is like tomorrow.
So far, it's really good. Yeah.
Books I read this month, plus Tales of Shadowrun Academy, but that's not a book, so.
It's an ebook.
Yeah. So, the first book I read, which it was the rest of Tales of Shadowrun Academy that I read, I rated all those a 5 out of 5 stars. They were so good, and they didn't, which they said Lady Midnight was still good, but I would still recommend reading it before Lady Midnight. I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which came out, well, it came out in July, but still, pretty much August. I mean, it wasn't as good as Harry Potter series. It was really good, don't get me wrong.
I thought it was.
It was like really, really good, but
it wasn't as good as it wasn't an expectation.
Because it's not, I wanted to see Harry a lot more in it, but he wasn't as in it as much as
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it was really good. A couple times, like, a big twist would happen, and I was like, didn't see that coming, you know, I like when books have that, but
it just wasn't a Harry Potter book.
It wasn't a Harry Potter book, but I still loved it. It was still really good. 19 years later after Harry Potter ends, and it's about, it's about Harry's son and Draco's son. I thought I was really gonna like Harry's kid, but I like Draco's kid more than I like Albus. Albus was just bad.
Stupid.
He was stupid. Yeah.
He was really stupid.
He made stupid decisions. And I read Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs because the movie's about to come out. And I really enjoyed this book. I've heard mixed things on it, how some people think it's slow and boring, and I can understand why people would think that, but she didn't love it. I mean, I think I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars, I think. It's taken place in the 1940s, well, some of it, and it's about a house full of peculiar children. They have weird abilities, and the main character, Jacob, he figures out his grandfather was a part of this world, and his grandfather told him stories about it when he was little, but when he started to grow up, he didn't believe them until he fell into all this, and yeah, it's his story, and I enjoyed it.
Me not so much, but
Yeah.
it's whatever.
Then I read Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, and this book was so good. 5 out
It's
of
in-
5 stars,
it's
10
in-
out of 5
It's
stars.
in every one of our videos.
Yeah.
It's in almost every
It was so good, and
From the moment
it
it
made
came
you feel
out.
every feeling, made you happy,
Oh.
sad. Made you
angry.
laugh.
Emma's parents died, and she wants to find
She's
out
trying to figure out who did it, and so
Yeah.
it's her trying to solve the mystery.
of who's all these killings or why and who's
Yes.
doing it.
Yes,
Yeah, and it follows the Blackthorns.
phenomenal. Then I'm currently reading, but I plan on finishing by the end of August.
Big.
Hollow City by Ransom Riggs, and so far I'm not enjoying it as much as Miss Peregrine's. It's kind of boring, but
Yeah.
I'm almost
I
done.
think it took me literally 3 weeks to read it. So embarrassing. Okay, first book that I read in August was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Alexia's already told you what it's all about. So anyway, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars because it's the best book ever. It's Harry Potter. The next book I read was The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Oddie, and Paige already explained this one too, so there you go. The third book that I read in August was Lola and the Boy Next Door.
How good was it?
It was really good. I rated 4 stars, I think. Paige already
Yeah, I
explained
rated
it.
Y'all read a
stars.
lot of the same books.
Yeah, Paige already explained it. And the last book that I read in August was this Whopper Stopper. And as Paige, I literally ran into her room when I finished it, and I said, "This is the best book I've ever read."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best book I've read, but it was. I was so. I was like so
in the
it.
moment, and then
In A Court of Thorns and Roses, which follows a girl named Feyre, who is a mortal who gets thrown into the fairy realms when she kills a fairy. Fairy wolf, shapeshifter. So anyway, she gets taken and as a punishment, and she lives a few months, well, not a few months, more than that, in the fairy world, and it just follows her and her relationships. There's different courts, like there's the day court, night court, spring court, dawn court, all these courts that are in the fairy world, and she gets put into the spring court. Amazing, and I really recommend reading it. I'm pushing them to read A Court of Thorns and Roses just so they can get to this
By
book.
the way,
Y'all.
guess what? We're going to see Sarah J. Maas.
we're gonna meet her in
In a few days, like a week,
September 8th.
a week and a half.
Yeah.
we weren't gonna be able to go because of school, but now school's canceled for a long time, so we get to go.
Read this book, it's amazing.
This video's too long, so we're not gonna do awards. They were all really good. That's it. Bye.
Peace. Hollow City by Miss Peregrine's.